Erik Horne here with Andscape's David Dennis Jr., Jason Reid, and Bill Rhoden, and we're talking about the NFL hiring cycle. We've had some interesting hires in the past week or two. We got Antonio Pierce in Las Vegas. We've got one of the surprise hires in Atlanta, and Raheem Morris taking over the Falcons when the rumors were Bill Belichick was going to end up there, and then Jerod Mayo taking over in New England as sort of a succession plan that was put into place that Bill wrote about a couple of weeks ago. Let's just start with this, y'all. What do y'all think about this current hiring cycle for Black head coaches with one job left open in Washington that's not accounted for, but so far 3 have been filled? We can start with you, Jason. What do you think about this hiring cycle?
Well, Erik, I think from the perspective of Black NFL coaches, I think it's been very encouraging. Relatively speaking, I think that it's been encouraging for all minority coaches in the NFL. Back in 2020, whatever the Super Bowl was that was in Los Angeles, Bill, refresh my memory, was that 2022? No, 2000.
Yeah, it was two. It was two Super Bowls ago.
Yeah, so going into that Super Bowl, of the previous 27 hires for head coaches in the NFL, only 3 Black men were among that group. So when you look now where we are in 2024, we have 6 Black head coaches in the league. They actually doubled the number of Black head coaches in the league this hiring cycle. 8 of the league's 32 head coaches are coaches of color. That's 25%. That's improvement. Those are gains all there. And I have to say that the league has been more intentional in the past few years. There are programs that have started the accelerator program, which puts team owners and executives and coaches in the same room, coaches and executives of color. And Rand Carthon, the Titans general manager, Tennessee Titans general manager, he basically got his job. That was a part of the process of him getting his job because he met the Titans owner at that thing. So I think overall, it's progress. Now, does the progress continue? Will we see progress in the next hiring cycle and the next one and the next one? I don't know. But there's progress this cycle, and as bad as things had been long ago, yeah, it's better than they were.
David, what do you think about Raheem Morris coming on in Atlanta? Obviously, Atlanta being the Black town it is, it seems like it's a positive hire. But I thought it was interesting considering all the rumblings there were about the Belichick thing. They brought him in for multiple interviews, and then all of a sudden, it seemed like it was out of nowhere. Raheem Morris drops in, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, the Raheem Morris thing is really interesting for a lot of reasons. I guess I'll start with Atlanta here is the fact that it's wild to me that this is Atlanta's first Black coach. I mean, this is, what I'm saying, one of the blackest cities in America, you have your first Black coach. But Raheem Morris also fits in to like this trend of just unexpected coaching hires in terms of Black folks. You have 3 hires in particular that go against what we have thought about traditionally Black people are capable of being hired for. Raheem Morris is a coach who had a almost pretty much disastrous first coaching stint. We never see Black coaches get second chances when that happens. We have another coach in Mayo who got handed a job at a prestigious dynastic organization, which is another thing that doesn't happen. And Pierce, who was an interim coach for a bad team, who gets extended beyond that. And we often see that coaches, like we saw in Carolina a couple years ago, coaches who take over those positions, no matter how well they do not get extended for those jobs. So those are 3. It's not just the amount of hires, the kind of hires, the type of hires that we're seeing that's really interesting. Now, I would like to give the NFL a lot of credit and say that this is diversity initiatives and looking at all these coaches and maybe Rooney Rule things. But, the NFL is a copycat league, and that it's going to be hard pressed for me to believe that they're not just looking at D'Amico Ryans and what he did at the Texans and saying, maybe Black coaches can coach, and just copying and doing what we all knew was possible this whole time. But Raheem Morris seems like a good fit in Atlanta. We had Tomlin say that he is the best coach around that did not have a head coaching job. He said that a little while back. So I think that going with him, fits with this team and what they're capable of doing. The players already seem to love him.
Jason, you wrote so much about Raheem in the lead up to this hire and over the past couple of years and him being worthy of getting that second chance. But I want to kick it to Bill. Bill, I'm still surprised that Raheem got hired, even though he has proven that he can run a defense really well over these past few years with the Rams. For the reasons that David just said, usually our coaches don't get a second opportunity to do this.
Right.
Some guys are still waiting for that second opportunity. A guy like Steve Wilkes, who got fired unceremoniously after 1 year in Arizona, he's still waiting for that full opportunity, even though he was an interim in Carolina. So, Bill, what's been most surprising to you about these guys who've been brought in, or has anything surprised you at all?
Yeah, well, as David has a number of great points, but Raheem, I was really surprised by Atlanta's hiring of Raheem Morris. Because like he said, there's so much buzz about Belichick and this one and that one, and Raheem just dropped out of the sky. I mean, that was really a smooth move. And I was happy for him. He got that job in Tampa Bay at the time. I mean, he was like a kid, and he would probably tell you that he was like really, really, really young. And for him to get that second chance is good. So I like that. And I also like each of the hires, as David pointed out, is special. The fact that Jerod Mayo gets the old boys network treatment. That never happened to black folks. That your legacy then. I like Antonio Pierce because it was sort of what's left of player empowerment, because you had some players really advocate for Antonio Pierce. So I like that. But, we've talked about this before, Eric. I see, I use the metaphor of a merry-go-round, that, and that's kind of the predicament that we're in. You go round and round and round. And if they measure how many rotations you get, it could be like 20 miles. But then when you stop, you get out for the same place you got out. You really haven't gone anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
So we're still looking. I think Jason talked about the high of black coaches in the NFL has been 7 or 8 of black coaches, not of color, just black coaches. So, I mean, I'm encouraged because I think we have to be encouraged. That's how you get out of bed, because you have faith. So yeah, I like it, man. But I just still, I'm just still looking for more. And by the way, I guess what I'm looking for, man, is who's going to be like the first superstar black coach. I mean, Tomlin has been very consistent, but I'm talking about superstar. I'm talking about a legendary. Like when they talk about Belichick, and now they talk about Reid. And I think that there's been plenty of black players who are talked about in these legendary at these legendary tones, but I think that would really be special to get like the black Don Shula or the black Andy Reid or the black Belichick. I think that really, when they began talking about us as coaches in those terms, that will be yet another breakthrough. So yeah, my long-winded answer is that it's good. I'm happy for the brothers who got hired. I think it's great. But we just have to keep pushing.